Hey everybody, I am here today at Magic City Woodworks in downtown Birmingham, Alabama with Lawrence Sheffield. Lawrence, thank you so much for sitting down and having a conversation today.
Well, it is an honor, Allison. Thank you for having me.
I'm super excited to be back here at Magic City Woodworks. I first learned about this place back in December, happened to be in Birmingham for a leadership conference, and happened to be with a friend of mine who's also your aunt.
She is.
And so she brought us by here, and I was just blown away by what you guys are doing here at Magic City Woodworks. Immediately on the spot, within like 30 minutes of knowing you, said, I want you to come to the leadership conference we have at Theodore High School. Mm-hmm. You graciously agreed, and sadly it was canceled due to COVID. But I'm super excited that we can sit down and have a conversation today and share this with students. And so thank you so much. So I would just love to start by you sharing a little bit about Magic City Woodworks, where the idea came from, a little bit of your story.
Sure. Well, I just want to say thank you for having me, and it's an honor to be able to share about what we're up to, and I'm excited just for this opportunity. So, yeah, Magic City Woodworks comes from the idea of work as a gift. I was coming out of high school. I really didn't have a plan back in 2006, and I knew that I wanted to work with my hands, and I knew that I enjoyed working and problem solving, but I really didn't know how to work with my heart as much. And I ended up finding a job that really checked all three of those boxes through the fire department. And at 19 years old, I joined the fire department and spent a few years working until one day where I really got challenged. At 24, I was approached by a coworker who really challenged me in what I was going to do with my life. And for me, that became a faith journey. Everything changed that day, and I began to think about living on purpose and living with a mission in mind. And for me, the thing that kept coming back to me time and time again is that there's a lot of people around me that looked at work kind of as a job. I've always been entrepreneurial. When I was 12 years old, I started a lawn care company. I'd wash people's cars. I was always hustling the neighborhood.
You were hustling early.
Yeah.
Early.
Yeah, and I always enjoyed it. But at 24, when I got challenged, I decided that I wanted to help people look at work as a gift. And the main audience really was guys around my age and guys that were just coming out of high school. And so I started Magic City Woodworks as a way to help young men see that work's not just this mundane task. It's actually a gift. That's the way I kind of look at it, especially in today's climate with COVID. You know, it really is a gift to come to work and be able to do things like this. And so that's where the idea comes from. It's a journey of faith, and it's a journey of trying to help others succeed.
So you took this idea, turned it into this reality. We're sitting in Magic City Woodworks, which is awesome. And what does that look like on a day in and day out basis? Once you had this idea and you started putting it into action, tell us, like, what do you do day in and day out?
Well, I'll say this. When we started, we didn't start here. We started in a little one-car garage where we could barely fit this table that we're sitting on right now, and it started very slowly. It started organically. It started with me researching. It started with me asking people for wise counsel. It really started with building a community around the idea. Over almost 8 years, we have refined it to where it's a 6-month paid apprenticeship for 18 to 35-year-old men. They come in, they work a 40-hour work week. They're paid to be a part of our organization, and our job is to help them find their own calling and find what helps them get out of bed in the morning with purpose at the front of their mind. And so Magic City Woodworks is really a big metaphor to help others. And so day in and day out, we build furniture.
It's beautiful, by the way. I've been able to see some of it while I've been here. It's amazing.
Well, thank you. That's the guys. And so we've had about 75 young men work here as apprentices. And we teach them through woodworking and metalworking. We're actually in the wood shop right now. Our metal shop's down the street. We operate in about 18,000 square foot of manufacturing space. And we sell products from Atlanta to San Francisco, all the way to New York. So it's a business.
And I love the fact that you said you didn't start in this huge building. You started small. So what would you say to someone who maybe has an idea like you and they think, well, I don't have this huge building, I don't have these huge resources. What would you tell them? How can they get started if they just have this idea?
I would say that it's really about the journey. It's not just about the destination. Because I'll tell you, once we got this big shop, I just wanted more shop. And so I would say to that person, enjoy the one-car garage. There's products that we use on a daily basis, like Google, that started literally in a one-car garage. And so some of the fondest memories I have of Magic City is the days where people were saying, you want to do what now? And
sounded a little crazy at first.
It did. There was a lot of people that warned me. There was a lot of people that said, Lawrence, if this was such a big problem, people would have already been doing it. And then the wise counsel I was getting is if you look around and that problem's not being solved, then maybe that's what you're supposed to be doing. And so it is a joy to be in this space. But I would tell that person, don't ever miss the beauty in the concept phase of your idea.
That's awesome. You mentioned that you kind of like to take the idea of work that honestly has a bad rap, right? You hear Monday's coming. People kind of dread sometimes a work week, or even for students who are watching, maybe the school week.
The Sunday scaries.
Right. So how have you kind of flipped that perspective, and how can we maybe flip our own perspective to look at work a little bit differently?
Well, I'll go back to high school. For me, high school, I had to go to high school was my mentality, and that's a shame to think back on, because the truth is that I got to rather than I had to. Until I started looking at my life as I get to live my life, I find myself constantly using those words. I have to go to this next meeting. I have to take my truck in to get serviced. But the reality is that most people around the world would totally look at my life and think, wow, you get to do those things. And so I call it the have to, get to. And so work becomes a gift when we realize that we get to work, that other people would totally take our position and enjoy that work. When I have to go to work, it becomes this mundane grind, right? When I have to go to math class. But the truth is that we get to, and when we apply that over years, we look back and we can be really proud of our career. And we'll look back and realize that we helped a lot of people by just having that attitude.
That's awesome. And so you sell furniture, but you're also helping people. Right. So it's like you have a business and a nonprofit.
We do.
Kind of going at the same time. How does that work?
Well, as a nonprofit, we are for the good of our neighbors. And so we established Magic City Woodworks as a social impact company that is a 501c3. And so we do accept donations. But we have a revenue earning capability here as well. So, last year we were able to cover over 80% of our entire budget through our sales. And so it's really, I believe, the future of entrepreneurship is looking at our new companies or our new ideas as how can we help people along the way. For us, we use donations to help our neighbors. So this year we will take $50,000 of our donations and build furniture for families that are in need around us. We did that last year, and that's something we really love about our model. And then also our equipment. You see a lot of fancy equipment around here. Donors will step in and help us grow our business by helping us get better tools. And, the ROI, the return on investment is that we get to hire more apprentices and we get to change more lives. So we totally walk like, talk like a for-profit entity, but also we have a heart of a nonprofit.
Man, and for people who maybe want to buy some of your products or even just donate or learn more about what you're doing, what's a good way for them to find out how to do that?
It's to get on MagicCityWoodworks.org, and then you go to the store and you buy as many cutting boards as you can.
I have one. They're awesome.
All right. You get an electronic desk for your work from home set up, and you definitely get one of our trucker hats.
All right. Absolutely. I haven't gotten a hat. I have a shirt.
Well,
but I don't have a hat.
You'll leave with one today.
Okay. All right. I'm excited.
All right,
I see so many just around the workshop, see so many, I don't know, mottos, sayings, values. I'm looking at one that says, be who you needed when you were younger. Mm-hmm. Why do you have these signs posted, and how does that play out in your day-to-day operation?
Yeah, good culture eats strategy for breakfast. And so...
Ooh, say that again. Say that again.
I don't know who said it, but I've heard it. It's a good culture eats strategy for breakfast. And so the culture of our organization, and Andy Stanley says that the culture of a company is the personality of the company. For us, we have cultural reminders all over this place. And we try to do it in not a cheesy way. So these are sayings that I know to be tried and true. So be who you needed when you were younger is something that's personal for me. And I think everyone can resonate with that. As we all are getting older, our job is really to look back and to help the generation that's coming behind us. And so I want to challenge your students. You might be in high school right now, but you're going to blink and you're going to be 32. And so who do you want to be at 32, and who can you be right now to some middle schoolers? And so be who you needed when you were younger is just a part of our culture.
And I know that you have some kind of core values you instill. You actually have a classroom where your apprentices are learning. What are some of those key values and skills that you're teaching them that we probably all need to have as we're working, whether it's in a classroom or in a workplace?
I appreciate you asking that. So I was taught by one of my mentors, and by the way, one of the most important things you can do is, I'm sure you would agree with this, is get some mentors in your life.
Absolutely. No one can do it by themselves, at least not very well.
No one. And wise counsel will never do you wrong. Especially in high school, I wish I would have surrounded myself with some older people that had been where I'm at, and it would have definitely saved me from some heartache for sure. But I got my art core values from a mentor of mine named Pete Oakes, and he said there's really two options. You can work for yourself or you can work for God. And for me, again, I'm speaking personally here since you asked.
Yeah.
For me, when I was learning this lesson, Pete said, when you work for yourself, you can work for pride, power, and possessions. And that didn't really sound good for me. He said, just look around and see how that works out for people. And he said the other way is you can work to be a good steward. You can work to serve others, and you can work to pursue excellence. And so those are our three core values. I asked him, I said, Pete, can we adopt those? And he said, absolutely. And so our three core values here is what we filter everything we do. So, for example, one of our core values is be a good steward. Steward means that I take care of what's entrusted to me. So if I'm entrusted this wood shop and I'm walking down the street on my way here and I see a candy bar wrapper, for me, being a good steward means pick that thing up and walk inside and throw it in the trash can. Don't make a big deal out of it. Just do it the right way. Also, stewarding opportunities. So if somebody gives us a contract to build tables for the restaurant, we want to do that really well. And I want to communicate with them really well. And I want to make our yes mean yes and our no mean no. And so our core values are everything to us because really that's where the art of workmanship lies for us, meaning I don't look at work just as this mundane task. I actually look at it as a gift. And I've had apprentices over the years say that those 3 core values will never leave them. And so they almost get mad at me. They say, I can't walk across the grocery store parking lot and just see a grocery cart sitting there and not take it in. And so for us, that's our mission, living on past the apprenticeship.
And it's outside of the workshop. It's day in and day out. And I love that because those core values can apply to any person, in any place, any job, any classroom. And so I just think that that's amazing how you've incorporated that in making furniture. And, as you're making furniture, as you're bringing in apprentices that kind of, come through the program, I know you've said sometimes you are taking in, hiring guys who maybe feel like they're stuck in a rut.
Sure.
And I feel like right now, a lot of people feel like they're stuck in a rut.
Yeah. Me too. In
the midst of COVID. What would you tell someone who feels like maybe they're stuck in a rut?
I would say that you can't pull yourself out of a rut. We're in the South, and when a truck gets stuck in a rut, that's a problem. And typically you need something and some people to help pull you out. So I would say if you're in a rut, you're not alone. I believe everyone is in a rut at times. And to ask for help. And that's a hard thing to do, especially in today's world. But it's the wise thing to do. And my heart goes out to people who are in a rut, because I've been in them for sure. When I was 20 years old, actually yesterday was the 12th anniversary of my father passing away. And at 20, I found myself out on my own and figuring out the world, really, I felt like by myself. And I've had some amazing people come along. So I would say find your people, find your tribe. If people aren't loving you around you well, find some new people. That's okay. And ask for help. And do it earlier than you probably think you should.
I'm sensing a theme about finding your people, finding a mentor, helping others, that it really all comes down to people.
That's right. And
in this time of 2020, when, of course, COVID, it's kind of rocked all aspects of life, how have y'all here at Magic City Woodworks, how have you as a leader handled COVID? What challenges have you faced during this unique time?
Well, COVID started for us, I think, a little earlier. I had the opportunity to be a part of a program through a bank called BBVA, and the finale for that program was actually in Madrid, Spain, and I was so excited. My wife and I were going to go to Madrid and be a part of this leadership deal, and it was coming up at the end of February. And I started Googling stuff about Spain, and coronavirus had just hit, like, probably the last week of February. And just something, I kept, thinking, we're supposed to cancel this flight. And I was calling all of my peers that were in the program, and they weren't sure. And so I kept Googling, and you know where that gets you.
Yeah, that can be a little scary. That can be a good thing, or...
Yeah, and I kind of had, a cold that week. But it turned out to be a really good thing, because I ended up canceling our flights. And at that conference, I think they said that 20 people were diagnosed with the coronavirus. And so my heart went out to them for sure, but it put us into action here. And good, wise counsel said that this is a time for leaders to take action, and leaders are proactive. So whatever you think's appropriate, turn up the dial a bit. And so we suspended all of our visitors coming in the shop as of, I think it was March 5th. It was earlier than most. And we went to a curbside pickup. We began to take measures with hourly hand washing, and that all those things lasted about a week, and ended up saying everyone go home. So for 2 months, you got to think about it. 80% of our budget is covered through our sales. We had tables. I mean, as you can see here, the shop looked just like this. And we had to communicate with all of our customers that we weren't sure when their orders would be ready. And about 3 or 4 of us would come in at staggered times and build furniture. And we made it through it. We applied for the PPP, the government program, the CARES Act, early, and we got it the first round. And so, yeah, we were very aggressive. I want to give a shout out to my, leadership team here. We were very aggressive, and it's paid off in the long run, because as we go into Q4, the end of this year, we're actually up from where we were last year. I don't know how, but we're up from where we were last year.
That's awesome. So being proactive, doing your research early, getting wise counsel. So that's awesome to think that you guys are coming through this really almost even better in some ways on the other side. Do you think that there are some, once we get through this year, that whether it's a business, nonprofit, that we'll look back and see benefits? It's really easy right now to see the downside, but do you think we'll see benefits from what we're going through?
I do. I think everyone realized that the fragility of life, and I think everyone has a better appreciation for the opportunities that they have. I hope they do. I do. I think we'll look back and realize that we are more adaptive than we probably thought. I'm sure that there will be many lessons in the days to come about how we reacted, and I think it's going to make us stronger as a society for sure. What do you think?
I think we definitely will. I think it might take some distance before we see the full measure of what we've learned. But I think so. I think that out of those hard times, we can always gain. I think if we've been proactive, I think that we can be intentional and try to gain more. I think it's easy to just kick back and just try to get through it. But I think if we can be intentional and get creative like you guys were on even staggering when to come in to work, getting creative solutions to the problems that we face. And like you said, hopefully just being more grateful for what we have, and grateful for how we do things. So I'm definitely hopeful that we're going to be better on the other side of this thing.
That's good. I agree.
So I was reading a couple of articles. I did my homework, and I read that you said that you were a little bit of a personality assessment dork.
Yep.
Those are your words, I believe, not mine.
I am, for sure.
So I have to know, I use personality assessments in my leadership classes, so I have to know what test are you using, and do you use that here at Magic City Woodworks, and why do you love personality tests so much?
If our staff was sitting here, they would be laughing very hard. This has been a recent, as of the last 3 years, I've realized the importance of realizing that we're all gifted differently. And I've in my own leadership walk, I'm realizing there's things that I'm really good at, and there's things that I'm really bad at, if I had to be honest. I'm not.
I feel the same.
Okay, that makes me feel better. I feel like the message a lot of times that we get is you're supposed to be great at everything. And I heard somebody say one time, don't stop trying to be great at your weaknesses and get better at your strengths. Be aware of your weaknesses, and for me, that's why personality stuff came into play. And it came in this format. I'll be straight up. I promoted someone, and I asked them to be someone that they weren't. And that's something I want to encourage everybody to just listen up to is that this is kind of how the interaction went. We had an opening, and I said, this opening is to lead these 5 people day in, day out. It's to be almost like a cheerleader, a motivator. And a lot of times as employees, we can say, sure, I can do that.
Say yes, right? Sometimes say yes.
Every time, right?
Every time, say yes.
Yeah, and that can get us in trouble, because one day after work, a few months into it, I basically found that person not doing well. And it really changed my whole mentality on hiring people. I walked in and the next day, and we invested in something called Culture Index. Culture Index is the software that I use, and it's scary accurate. And here's what I realized is that if you ask a lineman, we're getting into football season, right? If you ask a lineman to play wide receiver, the question is that loving that lineman well? You know, asking them to get on the line and block, is that a better use of their talent? And the answer is obviously yes, but so many times we put people in the wrong positions. And there's a happy end to that story that I told you.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, so this personality of this their superpower was analytics over dealing with people. So they processes over people. And today that person has received like 3 raises because they're just so good at their new job. They love being in front of a computer and serving in that capacity. And we laugh about it now today. And looking back, he showed a lot of grace. And I asked him for forgiveness even. And it has helped me hire well compared to hiring off of a gut feeling or just a simple interaction.
I love that you said you referenced that person's superpower. Because everybody has one, right? Or more than one. You just have to find it.
Yeah, I believe so. I truly believe that.
So, one thing I think I've become even more passionate about over the past few years is helping young people kind of figure out what their passions are, what their superpower is, whether it's through a personality test or doing an inventory of what you're passionate about. Because I think so many times people feel the pressure to, well, I'm going to take this job because it makes a certain amount of money or because someone asked. Yeah. And so what advice would you give to someone who's maybe trying to figure out what their superpower is, what job path or what they should do in life? Any advice?
I would say take your personality test.
Okay.
What do you use?
I use the DISC.
Yeah.
I've used Myers-Briggs.
Okay.
Now, the Enneagram is all the rage right now. I don't know if you have done anything with the Enneagram. So I'm still very early in learning that.
Gotcha.
So I try to do, a few different assessments. But the Culture Index I'm not familiar with. I would be interested in learning about that.
I'm gonna send a survey to you, and you tell me if I'm accurate. When I read it back.
It is. It's kind of scary sometimes how accurate.
Yeah.
I think I took my first kind of real personality test in college, and even to this day when I retake it, it's the same. Right. Because even though I've done different things over the years, that core personality doesn't shift a whole lot.
I think it's from the time we're 7 to 12 years old is when most of those core tendencies get locked in, which I wish was different because I'd like to tweak some of mine.
I know. I always tell my students when we're taking the personality test, and you have to be honest. This is not a wish list. This is not who you want to be. You have to be honest. This is who you really are. Because like you said earlier, we all have strengths. We all have weaknesses. So it's just trying to find out what those strengths are so that you can really work in those and live in those. Because it's frustrating to work in an area that you're not good at and that you don't enjoy.
That's right. Yeah, I think that what I would encourage people to do is really take advantage of those tools that you're offering. If you have a superpower, why would you not want to use it? If you don't know what you want to study, why would you just shoot in the dark and grab a major?
Now you're getting to good stuff here for students.
I don't want to step on anybody's toes.
That's good.
But I mean, for me, I've been very blessed to work in jobs that I love. But even today, I'll use myself as an example. I'm not a details guy. In fact, my personality assessment is I'm only a details guy if I truly care about that thing. And so I've had to hire around that. And I love it when people are honest with themselves because they're going to fit in really well into our system. And so what I would encourage people to do is take a self-inventory of what you're really good at, but also what invigorates your soul. Mm-hmm. Like what actually helps you get out of bed in the morning. There's a reason you have a favorite subject, and there's a reason you have a least favorite subject. And so because your buddy down the street is going into accounting and you don't like accounting, you shouldn't go into accounting probably. It could save a lot of heartache, I think. And so I would really highly recommend that people take advantage of the tools that we have in 2020.
Kind of circles back to what we talked about earlier with the art of work. And I think that perspective on work shifts when you are doing something that you love that helps you get out of bed in the morning. So we're getting close to running out of time, but I do want to ask you, I always like to ask, what's on your radar right now? What are some things that maybe you're tuned into that maybe those of us listening should be tuned into? It could be a book, it could be a person, it could be serious, it can be fun. What are just some things on your radar right now?
I'm into, so if you had asked me that a couple of months ago, I would have listed a bunch of podcasts. I probably would have told you a bunch of books that mean a lot. But today, I'm interested in finding out what gives me life outside of work. And I have almost a 2-year-old, and her name's Gray. She's a sweet, sweet baby. And what I'm into, what's on my radar right now, is learning about being a dad, learning about how to be a better husband, learning more about myself, because I totally believe that play is a major component to being a good leader. So I got back into dirt bike riding, and so what I'm getting at is that I've done the leadership conference circuits. I've done lots of self-learning and reading, and I would also say that equally as important is I want to know myself more, because that's going to help me be a healthy leader. And so, that's what I would say. I'm actually reading Proverbs right now. I think that's the best thing I could be reading, and it's all about wise counsel. And those are a couple things on my radar right now. It's if when I come into work, when I come in here and I'm well rested, I'm in a posture of we got this. So my time off is very important. But when I come in here and I'm pressing, and I've read 30 how-to books and all that, then I'm stressing. And so I want to be in a posture of I get to come in and I'm healthy. So health is a big one for me right now.
You want to be pressing, not stressing.
Maybe I didn't say that right. I don't want to be pressing. I want to be in a posture of I don't want to be pressing, and I don't want to be stressing.
Okay, you don't want to be pressing or stressing. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, focus relationships are now more important now than ever. And that's something that's heavily on my radar. And I would encourage people of take inventory of the 5 people that you spend the most amount of time with, because that's probably the average of what you're like to be around. Have you ever heard that? I like that, and I think a lot about it.
I think that's a good indicator. I think a lot of times especially with students, we look at things like grades and ACT score, and those things are important.
Sure.
Absolutely. But if you really want to know the indicator of really how successful someone's going to be, you look at those people, like you said, those 5 people, their inner circle, the people they're doing life with. I think that is such a huge part of where we end up in life.
Yeah.
And so, awesome. I love that you're working hard in the shop, but you're playing hard outside of the shop.
Try to. Which
is so important, and love that you make your family a priority outside of the shop as well. So, I've loved sitting down talking with you. Is there anything else that maybe we didn't get to cover that you want to share with students or anyone watching today?
Yeah, I'll take the shot here. I would encourage everybody. I would say be kind to one another. There is a lot of pressure right now to be all things, all people. Spend less time on Instagram. and spend more time with people who truly care about you. Speak life over people. We talk a lot about gossip here at the shop, and don't gossip. I don't want to gossip. I'm guilty of it. I think everyone is. But be kind to one another. Enjoy your time while you're in school, and look back on that time for the rest of your life and be glad that you acted the way that you did. And that's my encouragement to all your students. Just be kind to one another.
That's so good. That's so good. Thank you so much, Lawrence. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully, we'll have you down to Mobile before too long for our leadership conference. But until then, we so appreciate a chance to bring this to our students through online content. So we look forward to just seeing what Magic City Woodworks does. I'm going to go get my hat before I leave, and we'll see you again soon.